If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
They're good at it, but
really
the John Deere hat says so.
Exactly.
That is not implied by a John Deere hat. It implies that he mows grass in a state that forbids grass.
It's like a magical hat that you put on and things happen.
It gives me my farm cred.
That's right.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Broadcasting from the churn. That's Jim. That's Whitney. I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Colonel Jim, actually. Join us at patreon.com/therapy. You can find out what every host's favorite soft drinks are and ranked. Turned into a very formidable discussion. And I didn't know that it was going to get into geopolitics. I didn't know it was going to get into racial war, but it did.
You're an idiot.
Took a turn.
Yeah, well, I should have assumed. Yeah, it's been a long
You're
time.
an idiot.
I should just know those things will happen.
You have a way of working race into every conversation.
How are you hanging this on my ass? I didn't bring up anything that led to that.
I don't know.
None of it.
Let's go back to the
I
tape.
was just
You'll have to
watching it
listen to
happen.
find out.
Nobody else used any slurs.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't initiate it, but slurs followed. Just it is what it is. Patreon.com/therapy. Enjoy our pre-show hangout. It happens every episode. And remember, when you sign up at patreon.com/therapy, you're going to get the extended show. You're going to get it ad-free, so you don't have to thumb that 30-second button. There's the jingle. And you're also going to get it on the same app that you're already listening to podcasts on. Once you sign up, you're just going to grab a little code, dump it into your app. Boom. You start getting it. It's awesome.
It's so easy. Even Nick could do it.
He could if he would try to.
He's not going to, but he could.
Shut up. You're a bad case example.
Honestly, have tried it.
Yeah, Lord.
No. If he tried hard enough, he could.
He could get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. He learned how to fucking do Photoshop. All right. He can learn
It's
this.
impressive.
It's copying and paste. Just give me your phone. I'll do it for you. Anyway, that was for Nick.
I don't
not all
want
the
this
listeners.
podcast
I
on my
can't do all
phone.
this. That's true. Good point. So we've got a great show ahead for you. We've got some great questions, and we're leading off the order with, am I overwhelmed or not trying hard enough? From Anonymous. Hello, I'm a 30-year-old Latinx female who is looking for a bit of insight. I can get into my backstory, which is extensive, but the highlights are that I'm an EMT for 2 years who has hit a block in terms of moving up the chain. I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. I like helping people, but I find I'm going stagnant and not accomplishing as much as I'd like to. I worry about my income and my lack of a social life. I also have recently started questioning my sexuality. I've suffered mild bouts of depression in the past, got to a really bad point once, and was able to bring myself out of it, but I don't feel like I have any kind of support system, but plenty of people with expectations of me, myself included. Any advice on how to approach all this? Thank you, Anonymous.
Oh.
Dude, EMT has got to be one of the hardest fucking jobs in the world. Jesus.
Because of the ears?
Yes.
Or the nose or the throat?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I should
definitely the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I meant M as in Mickey. Yeah.
Oh, did I miss here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's M as in Mick Cage, or M.
Oh my gosh.
EM.
No. Let him find a joke.
Yeah,
he's looking for a joke. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, Just St. Nicholas.
It's going to be really funny once we get to it.
Yeah. It'll come later.
We're going to workshop
But
this.
no, a shitty ass job. Like, have you ever had patients that are EMTs?
No, but I've had friends.
Yeah.
And one time, one of them told me this story, and I won't go into all of it. It's pretty graphic,
Jesus,
but it was this traumatizing story about somebody having a. I'm going to say this in a dirty joke. It's going to come from Jacob. But now that I've called it out, maybe it won't happen.
Nope.
That the person had a hole in them. So from getting punctured. Anyway, so I tell this story to my brother and sister-in-law.
Punctured.
Holes. So I'm telling this to my brother and sister-in-law when I see them. And my niece
is a goal.
My niece is like 2.5 at the time. And I don't know, it's probably like 2 days later, she randomly comes up to me and says, I like that story about the person with the hole.
Oh, Lord.
Like, oh my God, I'm like
you
traumatized.
Should not have heard any of this. I'm sorry.
I was not thinking about it. Obviously, I don't have kids, but now I just
Magdalene.
think about that.
The
like,
things they see, man, it is so rough.
I know. It
and
is
they get paid
insane.
nothing.
It's
like they're all
insane.
just basically doing this job until they can get hired as like a paramedic.
Right.
Or move on. And like it's like the starter healthcare career. You run nonstop. You get paid peanuts.
Yeah.
You are doing all the stuff. Like you're showing up to every horrible thing. It's so bad.
I don't know how they function.
We have a partnership with Community Ambulance, which is an ambulance company in town. They have a lot of EMTs on staff, and so we always have EMTs on site during our shows because we do have dangerous things, and then they also deal with people who maybe overdo it.
Over imbibe, as they say.
They overdo it here in Vegas, where all of a sudden they have ready access to legal weed and all the booze.
Yeah.
And so people occasionally, nightly, overdo it. The EMTs definitely deal with the audience members. They definitely deal with the audience members more than they deal with the acrobats.
Yeah.
But we have them, and so we had our show hosted the Community Ambulance, basically like a big party that they threw for all of their employees.
Oh, okay.
So we had like 500 EMTs and ambulance workers come to the show, and we just threw a big party for them and everything. It was a whole thing. But at one point, I was just over by me. A group of them was just telling war stories.
Lord.
And they did a straight face. They're like,
horrific.
Yeah.
And they were just all outdoing each other, too.
I'm sure.
It was the same thing as me sitting around telling like funny stories about celebrities or something.
Yeah.
It was just, they were doing the exact same thing. But like, this guy didn't have a head.
Right?
He didn't have a head.
Ran around for 10 minutes like a chicken.
I gotta.
We got the paddles out.
Let's not trigger warning the show. Let's avoid the trigger warning.
Friend of mine's in the fire department. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Oh
man,
my
they have
gosh.
so many. But
An old friend of mine was he was the fire chief for the Nellis Fire Department for years and years.
Oh my
God.
And it's like he would just come in and would be having drinks, and like we're having a good time and sitting around having fun. And you just see him sit down with like 2 shots in front of him and a beer, and he's like, I'm going to get through these and I'm going to join the party.
Oh,
because I just came from a 36-hour shift.
Oh, Lord.
And horrible things have happened to me in the last 36 hours.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
It is
was terrible.
Tough job.
I don't know how people do it.
You run ragged. The compensation's very low. I mean, I've had patients where both members of a couple were EMTs.
Yep.
Ugh.
And it's just such a hard life. And like one of them finally got out of it, and the other one was hoping to get out of it. And it's just like, that's the whole goal. Like nobody's like, I'm going to be a 30-year EMT. Like, it's just like,
that's a good point.
That's a very hard thing to sustainably do.
Yeah, that's kind of what the writer's alluding to as well. Like, I've been here 2 years and I want to do maybe something different. There's no more room and I'm burned out. And especially when we talk about having depression in the past, or even if they're mild bouts, I can't imagine carrying a lot of the shit that they go through around and not feeling something.
Well, and the adrenaline is always up. You know, like police officers, firefighters, they get these, they get called to a scene. There's unusual things happening that can be part of their life. EMTs are only going to emergencies the whole shift.
Yeah.
They are just going from horrible to horrible
There's
to
no
horrible.
traffic stops, like get on your way with
Every
your
stop
ticket.
is somebody's worst day of the year.
Yeah.
Like that is their worst day, and you're showing up no matter what's going on. It's
like
so
our
much.
EMT at the show, just dealing with people passing out or falling over or whatever.
Always an emergency.
It's always terrible. And really, like once a week or so, it's like I'll see somebody and be like, that person might die.
They're going to die today. Yeah. Right here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. You got to think that adrenaline's got to be so jacked and the cortisol levels so jacked. And even if you eventually get calm under fire, I just feel like there's just
it's
lot.
Not pleasant.
It's a lot
there's
of chemical
a lot going on.
imbalancing.
And then they're not getting rest, and it's just hard to recalibrate.
So I've done a lot of reading on this, with when it comes to like exercise and cortisol levels and stuff that happens with the brain, because there is a really good argument for the idea that the only reason that we have a brain is for movement.
Huh.
Okay.
So anything that's happening with our brain, anything that triggers something, it's to create movement.
Okay.
It's that, going back from like fight or flight, you're going to have to move for both of that. Anything having to do with hunger usually means you're going to have to go to hunt something, or you're going to have to go to forage.
Okay.
But everything is about movement, and learning is tied to that too. So, when you move, you learn something, like I'm running from something, I'm learning what's going on, or I'm finding food. So I'm remembering where that food's at so I can come back to it. So like all of this is highly connected, but like with cortisol levels too, like it's meant to create movement, like go do something. And when you have these jobs that create, and I'm not saying like EMTs don't move, but it's not like they're definitely moving, but it's not like, intense
like full
movement.
body.
Well, they're carrying all that energy with them to bed too.
Exactly.
Correct.
And that's the thing. That's the thing is like, what happens over a long period of time when your brain is creating all of these chemicals to create movement, but you never move. Like what happens with that, right?
Yeah.
So that just kind of builds up over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You go get backed up.
Yep, exactly. Go and get back.
Get you
That's
a
the
nice
problem.
laxative.
So Nick's advice is to work out.
It doesn't hurt.
Here we are again.
Drink, everybody.
But
Nick's advice is to work out. I think you should separate your home life and your work life.
Yeah.
Jim thinks you should get therapy.
Go to therapy.
It's the Pod Therapy greatest hits.
Whitney thinks you should buy a gun.
Yeah. Always
That's all
with
checks
the
out.
buy a gun.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So like cortisol levels, and not just if you're going to work out, but if you are going to work out in the morning. Because what happens, I know.
I hate working out in the morning.
Detail.
But what happens, exercise increases cortisol levels. Okay?
I'm just
Fucking Whitney.
I'm a sour
Whitney's
person
just
over here.
holding
This
two
is-
middle fingers
this
in
is-
the air directly
Work
at
out
Nick.
in the
This is
morning. Look
why-
at the research.
This is why we need to have this on video. But so exercise will
I'm
increase the
working on that, by the
cortisol
way.
levels, and then it'll drop it throughout the rest of the day. So that when you experience those like stressful moments,
Right.
cortisol will go up a little bit, but it doesn't peak.
Okay.
Exercise will naturally suppress it for the rest of
Pop
the
Is
day.
that because
hole
you
in the
forced
cup.
it up
Yeah.
to go high before?
Exactly.
I like that.
Forced it up.
So the writer talks about maybe feeling stuck and stagnant in their professional life, feeling like upward momentum has been halted. They have a bachelor's.
They have the bachelor's in criminal justice.
Yeah,
I'm
but
curious
it's
about
an
that.
interesting debate that I kind of hear in this letter because, I mean, the writer titles it sort of asking this question of like, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling stagnant, I don't feel like I'm putting my whole effort in, and then kind of asking that open question, is this me becoming lethargic? Is this me becoming lazy? Or is this me facing the wall, right? There's no upward momentum. And is that a natural response to when you're burned out? And I think it's a very open question.
Yeah.
It definitely could be burnt out. It could also just be that you're not really pursuing your passions.
Yeah.
I think you should, if what drove you into criminal justice? There was something in there that was interesting to you. And maybe you should explore that unless there's no money in it, and then go after the money.
Yeah.
Always
That's
pursue
always
the
Nick's
money.
advice.
And the Las Vegas housing market. Nick would
Oh my
just
God.
drink.
Are you
just
gonna buy
all the hits.
Nick, are you going to buy a house
playing
and a
all
car?
the hits.
All of it?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Smart.
Yeah, and kind of exploring some of these things. Some of them are a little bit universal right now, and that's not to minimize your feelings on it, but I think very relatable is what I'm trying to say. Worrying about income and worrying about lack of social life.
Yeah.
I mean, with the precarious state of the economy and everything right now, I mean, even really stable people are nervous, because we just don't know. So I think some of that is very just relatable, and I think you have to sit down and I would go the route of maybe brainstorming. I talk about this with clients a lot. I did just this week with a client. It's like sit down and just kind of spitball what are your interests, even if it's not putting pressure on you or an expectation to say I have to follow through with this. But let me just put it on paper.
Why not?
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, see what I gravitate toward. But put it all out there. Go through it a second time later on. Maybe set it aside for a day. Come back the next day. Look at it again. What's really standing out to you? Do you want to add to it? Do you want to pick through it and pick 2 or 3 things that stand out? And then kind of look at those and hone in on those.
I like that. I like that.
know.
I think there's a couple layers to this writer. And by the way, I think it is a very relatable thing when humans don't feel that they can continue forward, when they feel like there's a stagnancy or the door is closed. It is very defeating. There's an old quote that like hope is a great breakfast, but a terrible dinner. And it's like, yeah, you can wake up and you can start your day. You can choose to believe that the future is limitless. But whenever you're having to keep telling yourself that like it'll get better at the end of the night and you know it won't, like tomorrow's going to be the same thing, you start to get this emotional fatigue and you do start to feel this sense of burnout and you don't want to try as hard anymore. And look, to some extent, I think that that's very relatable. Like if your profession or your employers are not creating areas of advancement for you, they don't realize this, but they are flattening your tires. Like they are disincentivizing you from improving and impressing them because there's nowhere to go. And so when you've already maxed out, it's like, okay, so why try harder? Apparently, I cannot ascend beyond where I'm at, and I've already demonstrated I'm competent to do what I do. So if I can just do this lazily and be effective enough to keep the job, I will, right? But I think what you're experiencing, Ryder, is that that's also unsatisfying. And so I really like Whitney's idea that you need to take that social permission to sit down and in pencil sort of begin drafting these questions of like, okay, what are my personal values? And we've talked in the last month or two about doing values exploration and values analysis, but asking that question of like, okay, am I a career-oriented person? Maybe I'm discovering that I'm honestly not. And maybe I'm fine with being where I'm at and staying where I'm at. If you guys aren't going to make a lane for me to continue to ascend in this path, then fine, I'll do enough to stay here. And then I'm going to start diversifying and getting into other things. Maybe I want to spend more time with my family. Maybe I want to do more with my friends. Maybe I want to pick up a hobby. Maybe I want to bring my attention elsewhere and fulfill myself in new ways. That has to become, I think, our direction, because otherwise that stagnancy with no hope to climb and you just feel stuck. Depression loves that.
Yes.
That is the ground that depression wants to grow out of. Hell yes, it will. So we got to find something.
Stagnation.
Yes, that is the soil the fungus pops out of. So we have to create something in your life, Ryder. And I really like the idea of using this moment to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and ask this question of, am I being lazy? I know I am stuck. I know I have no direction. So when you're stuck in traffic, you're not being a lazy driver.
Right.
You're just stuck. There's nowhere to go.
I
when
mean,
the roads are closed. Yeah,
it could be both.
You could sit there and rev the engine, but there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So, like, why are we going to have you
Some
go at
people
100
can
miles
rev
per
their
hour
engine.
when the road's closed up ahead? Like, I don't see the value of that, you know? And I think, like, even like an EMT who's not trying their hardest, they're showing up and still doing more in the average day than all of us.
Which, by the way, if you're an EMT, go ahead and try your hardest.
Yeah. Actually, good point. Let's back up. If you live in the Las Vegas area, I would like you to very much try harder.
I just kind of feel like half-assing it today.
Yeah, maybe not. Don't phone them in.
I'm not feeling great.
Yeah, pound a Red Bull and get to work.
Oh my God.
We need you.
Don't put those expectations on them.
No. I absolutely need them to never suck at their job.
I tell you what, every EMT in Vegas that I have ever dealt with has seemed very competent.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Like the EMTs here,
There's a whole vibe
They
of
are
like,
great.
I just trust you with
they are
with
pros.
everything.
Like they come in, they just do it.
Yeah.
Like Jim and I had to deal with EMTs
that's
one
right.
night, dealing with someone.
God, that was a while ago.
and like we were both fine, but somebody else needed some attention, and we happened to be there. It was Jim's wife.
Yeah.
She realized that Jim was going to be home very soon. And just a big bout of depression just hit her.
Just violent sadness.
Oh
no, he still lives here.
He got home 10 minutes early. That was beyond the
ruined
pale.
her night. Yeah.
But no, we had to deal with the EMTs one night, dealing with a different person, and like all the EMTs that we dealt with and spoke to were brilliantly professional.
Pros.
Like we were like, here are our concerns. They were like, great, those are good concerns. Here's this. Here's why you don't have to do this and this and this, and please do this. And like,
they took charge too.
Yeah.
They got there like, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
We're here now. What's what we do? And then they're just one guy walking up to us, answer these 5 questions. We're giving him the data. He's like, boom, boom, boom. Great. Pivots, goes and gets his team. We have this new information. Do this now. And it's just wild. Like how
it was
good
amazing.
they are.
It was magical.
They are so good.
Yeah, and that has genuinely been. I've been with people who have had severe injuries in Vegas, and you had the EMTs come out, and every time it's been amazing.
Yeah. So we super respect your profession, Ryder, and we want you to be in it with all your heart.
Right.
Like, I don't want the day that you're like, I don't know, I think I'm going to quit halfway through the shift. Like, no. we want you to find what fulfills you in life.
I either want you to quit before, or well after
That's
you
right.
have to deal with me.
Don't realize during your shift that your heart's not in it anymore. That's not.
While you're applying the tourniquet, I don't want that to be your aha moment.
Oh, the tourniquet. But yeah, I mean, not having a big support system, but people around you that have expectations, the financial pressure, And look, I get it. Sometimes a job's a job and you need the job.
Sure.
And you're able to do it, and it's reliable income, and you're stagnant, and you're like, look, I'm not fulfilled. It's not blowing my skirt up here, but I can do it, and it pays some bills, and I'm just going to stick to it. Okay, sometimes that's just what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if there was a therapist in your life, I think they're going to say, great, let's accept the things we cannot change, and let's focus on the things we can. And that's where we're going to get really interested about your values, what's fulfilling for you. Do you need other areas of your life to move forward? Depression loves stagnation. So we always want to create some kind of movement, some kind of momentum. And like Nick said, sometimes it's like, okay, look, we're not going to try to change your life, but let's change the way you're living your life. Let's just create more self-care. Like, let's just get you more active physically, and let's see what that does. I mean, the best pharmacy in the world is between your ears. And so I think unlocking that is a huge idea.
Well,
I love that idea.
Do you not know about Walgreens?
What?
Yeah, they're really good.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but everything's locked behind a case.
Oh,
so.
You can't get anything out of there.
No, you just write a note. I think they just have to give it to you.
Or you just take a hammer.
You just write a note that says, this is a
Fair.
robbery.
And they won't stop you on the way out.
It will not. It's crazy.
Let him go.
No, I always feel a little silly, and I preface this in session. I'm like, look, I know this sounds like basic bitch info, depending on the client, if they let me say bitch.
My name's Whitney.
This sounds like basic bitch info, but I'm like, if you're not exercising, I don't even go into the diet stuff because whatever. I feel like the movement is the most important thing. Or just getting outside. If you can't move, just go stand outside in the sun. Like,
sunlight,
let's just start with where we can start. Let's start there, because I think sometimes people kind of roll their eyes at that, and it's like, no, this feels bigger than just that. But I'm like, we have to start at those basic levels to see how you're feeling. Did it change anything? It didn't. All right, let's try one other thing, and then let's try this. Let's try, like, they have to stack on each other. At least my experience.
And and Jim brought up a really good point, which is that the best pharmacy is in your head, and movement triggers all of this.
Yeah,
because like if you, for example, exercise. If you're exercising and you're doing some steady state cardio, and your body is starting to burn fat for fuel, right? The fat gets transported through your body on tryptophan, or not on tryptophan. On these transport proteins.
Yeah, you idiot.
So
first thing was the turkey stuff. So even I know that.
I was going to say that too. I'm like, not turkey.
No, but what happened? No, but tryptophan is where I'm going with this.
Oh.
Okay, because tryptophan also gets transported on these transporter proteins along with the fatty acids. Okay. So now it has to compete for spots. And what happens is then it creates a buildup in your bloodstream. So then what it does with this is then it pushes it through the blood-brain barrier into your brain.
Oh.
And then it goes to your brain, and then this is actually the building block. Tryptophan is the building block for serotonin.
So when you're working out, it's like eating turkey.
Kind of. Yeah, it's exactly like, if that will get you to exercise, yes.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know.
Nick's like, I see an opportunity here.
Yep,
Yes.
here we go.
The public
so-
campaign could be so good right
Listen,
So when you're
if
eating
you love
turkey,
gravy.
you're kind of working out.
I think that's what he's saying.
No.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you, Nick.
Thanksgiving, just the healthiest day.
That's all the time we have today.
I blew it.
Turkey gravy.
Anyway, Ryder, I love that you don't want to half-ass this. I like that you have high personal standards and high personal expectations, especially in the field that you're in. But I also feel for you when you're feeling stuck and, the wind's not in your sails. There is this sense of taking your foot off the gas. And what I find is that whenever I notice people are doing that, I don't want to enter them into a discussion of self-criticism and personal standards, just because I feel like beating that, person while they're laying on the ground catching their breath never seems to motivate. I want to find their why.
Yeah.
And that's the discussion of values that I really want to have.
Yeah. That kind of plays into the expectations too. I just feel like when we set these high expectations for ourselves, we allow other people to set those for us, and we listen to that and take that into too much of an account, then we're going to be let down potentially. Like, it just sets you up for disappointment at times. So yeah, setting those expectations, I think, like, why it kind of goes into what you said, just more like exploring what do you want to do and not.
Humans need that. If we don't have that, we do not succeed. Well, we are going to take a quick break, but first we want to remind you this show is brought to you by Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness, thanks to the endless turkey buffet, every day is Thanksgiving at Planet Fitness.
Pizza Planet.
Type in Pod Therapy at checkout.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpikaye Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cohn. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
Waka waka.
Oh my gosh. The other day, Peter was watching Futurama and it had the one with Thunder Cougar Falcon. He goes, look! I was like, Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop.
All right, Jacob.
Oh,
What's our topic?
gracious.
1980s.
Are we still doing
True.
the 80s?
Yeah, we're going to wrap up the 80s today, and if we got time, maybe get into the 90s. We'll see.
All right.
I saw we got a new
I have
one
a
about
chance.
80s movie quotes.
Yeah, we got that too.
Oh, okay.
Can we get
cool.
into
Yeah, we're doing
Y2K?
Yeah, I know. Jesus, we're getting smoked.
Please.
All right. In what year did MTV, music television, in case you didn't know what that is,
Thank you.
officially launch?
M is in Mancy.
Famously kicking off with the video
I know
Killed
that.
the Radio Star by the Bugles.
What year did that go? He gets multiple choice if he wants it, right?
Yes.
Or he can shoot for
Oh,
two.
yeah, I don't know the year.
Yeah, take
I
okay.
could have told you Video Killed the Radio Star was the
Yep.
first video they played.
Killed the radio star.
79, 81, 83, 85.
Well, 79's a red herring because this is 80s trivia.
Ooh.
Fair.
Or is it?
Oh, diabolical
Trick
mastermind.
I mean, what were the last two?
83, 85.
That seems late.
I'll go 83.
It is 81.
Yeah,
It is 81.
Felt like
Okay.
it had to be early 80s
Yep.
on that one.
Jimothy.
Yep.
Which 1982 Disney movie starred Jeff Bridges as a computer programmer
I know
who
this
is
one.
digitized
I
into
think-
a video game-like world?
Give me
Oh, never
Tron
mind.
for 2 points.
It is Tron.
Girl!
One of the
Damn.
options here was Flight of the Navigator. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That movie is fantastic.
Is that the one where the kid makes a bubble around himself of energy and goes into space?
No,
Okay.
it's Fred Savage
Oh.
from the
Fred
Wonder
Savage?
Years. I believe it is.
Oh.
I believe it's Fred Savage.
His grandpa's reading him a book about
That's
a girl.
what I thought.
Yeah, Flight of
I've
the
seen
Navigator.
that.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
I'm like, Princess Bride.
As you wish.
Flight of the Navigator.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
All right, Whitney.
Where's the cast?
Okay.
1985. In 1985, more than 40 famous singers recorded We Are the World to raise money for African famine relief.
Yes.
Under what collective name did they release the track?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. I feel like I'll get options, but I feel like I'll know when I hear.
Okay. USA for Africa, Live Aid Collective, Band Aid, The Supergroup.
What was the question?
We Are the World.
Oh,
what
okay.
was
I
the
think it
name
was
that they all
B.
collectively released the track under? Huh?
Be Live Aid?
That
Live
feels
Aid
right.
Collective?
That feels right.
No.
Damn it.
What were the options again?
USA for Africa.
that one.
Yep. it
Yes.
is.
USA?
It's USA for Africa.
USA for Africa.
Lame.
Yeah.
I thought we weren't this
USAA? That's a bank.
Seriously.
Okay, here we go. We're going to go through
Joey
this.
Kramer, by the way, he was in Flight of the Navigator, not Fred Savage.
Okay. All right.
Definitely kind of looks like Fred Savage. I don't feel too bad for not knowing
I
that.
accept your apology.
Oh, here we go, Jacob. 1985, cult favorite adventure film produced by Steven Spielberg
Oh, here we
followed
go.
a group of
E.T.
kids on a quest to find a pirate treasure and save their home.
Goonies.
That's a
E.T.
layup.
Yeah.
Jim, what?
For a second,
yes.
I thought you were about to say Space Camp, and I was very excited that you were
that
about
would've
to
been-
describe
that would've
the
been
plot of
good.
Space Camp.
Yep.
Be good.
Jim, which Los Angeles-based glam metal band gained massive fame in the 80s
Oh,
with
geez.
hits like Dr. Feelgood
Come
and
on.
Girls, Girls, Girls?
Girls.
Yeah, no fucking clue. Give me
I'll
options.
give you a hint. Umlaut.
Still doesn't help. Give me options.
Well, that's a good one, actually.
Wow.
Poison, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, or Rat?
Oh my God, I wouldn't.
These are all real bands, though.
Oh,
yes.
Those are real bands, but I wouldn't know.
No,
who
I
they-
know. I was saying it.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stating.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
They're
letting
all
me
real
Yeah,
bands.
I was letting you know
Thank you.
in case
Yes.
you didn't know.
Nick,
Yes.
FYI, all real bands.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
There's
Rat
a
Poison?
band
Was
called
that a band?
fucking Rat.
R-A-T-T.
With 2 T's.
Oh, my bad.
And Poison, Rat
I
Poison.
didn't realize they were poets.
Yeah.
Give me Motley Crue.
It is.
Motley Crue.
Oh,
Umlaut.
yeah.
Umlaut.
Whitney, which street dance style, born in the 70s and widely popularized in the 80s through music videos and films, involves fluid, robotic-like movements and illusionary effects?
It better not
Like
be
the
the fucking
moonwalk
robot.
or something. All right,
If
options.
it's the robot,
Of course
I'm
it's the
pissed at
robot.
the
I was going to
question.
say the robot. That seems too
It is
obvious.
not the robot.
Thank
See?
God.
Okay, give me options.
Ballroom,
Oh.
mambo, poppin' and lockin', or salsa.
Take Pop and Lockin'.
Nope. It's always salsa.
Yeah.
Do it.
I
I mean, ballroom is timeless. It was probably very
No,
popular
what was
in
the
80s.
second? Wait, read me the options again.
Ballroom,
Uh-huh.
mambo,
Mambo.
five.
I'm taking Mambo,
Mambo
number
number
five.
five.
That's what I'm taking.
Are you really taking
Yes.
Mambo?
popping and locking.
Okay.
What?
Wow. I don't know what just happened. It's like she just got on the skateboard and then just face planted.
Whitney was like, I'm going to get this question wrong.
Yeah, because I wanted
Mambo
to say
number
Mambo.
5 is memorable because it was not released in 80s.
I know.
You and I are not that old.
I
So
know.
you chose very unwisely.
Poorly.
She
Yeah.
is drunk. She is 3 glasses in.
Yeah.
Of Coke
She's
Zero.
And
all in
most,
all
of
over
a,
Zero.
and most of a vanilla
Of
Coke.
vanilla Coke.
Mostly
Yeah.
Vanilla Coke.
All right. Was that first round?
That's first round.
And I am off to a commanding lead. Loving it.
Okay.
Imposter syndrome from Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be entering the job market later this year because I'm moving. I've only had one job since graduating 10 years ago, and I didn't need to apply because it was a family friend. I got a degree in digital media production, but have no desire to work in that field and have been trying to determine what I might want to do career-wise for several months. Jim's advice in a previous episode about the ONET interest profiler and aptitude test. ONET. Career
website.
interest profiler. Ow! An aptitude test was really helpful, but most of what came back for me was in the science fields and would involve additional schooling to be at the compensation level I'm used to. I've been doing all of the payroll and accounting for a year and a half at my current company, but I feel unqualified to apply for those positions since I didn't actually go to school for them. I have no problem doing it now and make next to no mistakes, but I just can't get over the feeling that I can't do that role at a different company. I feel like I only have this job because of my family connection. I mean, I have a proven track record that I can do the work, and my boss has said that I do a great job. I've essentially been running half of this company for 2 years, but can't figure out how to even start putting that on a resume. What are some tips or advice for overcoming imposter syndrome or increasing my self-confidence in general? How do I keep motivation and confidence up, even if it takes months and possibly many rejections to find a new job? Thanks in advance, Adam.
You stand in front of the mirror with your hands over your head. Yeah.
A power pose.
Yeah. That's how you build confidence.
Okay.
Okay.
Next question.
Yeah. Nude? Is that part of it?
If you choose.
If it
You
helps.
choose, yeah.
If the
Does
lighting's
that
right.
build your
Jim, I don't
confidence or
think,
take your
I don't
confidence
think
down?
news is going to help your confidence.
If the lights are off, you know, and I'm just
In front of a mirror.
Then you
in a
can't-
staring in
dark
that
room,
dark mirror, imagining what I want to imagine. That is the definition of building confidence.
imagining the void.
Yeah. Just seeing the man I need to become.
No, for real. I feel like imposter syndrome, again, so relatable. Man, we start dabbling into the fake it till you make it, I feel like. You know,
Here we go.
like,
Drink.
yes. Fake
playing the hits.
We're all fucking faking it, right? Even
Yes.
everyone here.
Yes.
You hear that,
Everyone,
Pete?
Yep.
We're all faking it all
We're
the
all
time.
faking it,
every
Pete.
time.
Every time.
It's just P, has Nick said.
The writer's name is Pete. Is that
No,
right?
no, her husband's name is Pete,
Oh.
and I was shouting out to him.
Adam is the
Adam is the
Adam
writer,
is the writer's name.
Yeah.
Adam, my entire career is based on fake it till you make it.
Yes, give Adam your backstory because you relate to this 100%.
My whole career, literally, like the way I started doing sound for shows is I was working on this show, and
Therapy.
the sound person quit. This is 30 years ago.
I was like,
You should have been like
how
7
long?
weeks ago.
Yeah.
20 some odd,
10
not quite
years
30 years
Our
ago,
original
but 20 some
audio
odd years.
30,
10
so-
years old.
Scott was our first audio engineer on Pod Therapy. He left. We gave Jacob a shot.
Yeah.
We gave him his big break.
But I mean, it was 20 some odd years ago, early 2000s. I was still doing like on stage stuff and everything, and doing some backstage stuff. And literally, they were like, hey, the sound guy, I don't remember if they quit or they fired him or whatever. But they were like, hey, we got to get a new sound guy to run the show. And I was like, I can do it.
You just threw it out there.
Oh, I
So-
had never done it. But I was like, I can do it. And I was fairly confident that I could do it.
Right.
I believe that I was able to do it. And I
You didn't
was.
know how it
fine.
all worked, but you remembered how
Well,
to
that was
make
it.
it go.
I had the theories.
Yeah.
And I had the knowledge of like how the equipment worked.
Yeah.
I just hadn't put it all together.
But to be clear to the writer, you did not go to school for that.
No. I went to school to be an actor.
Yes.
I went to school, like, my degree was performance theater, because that's what I was still doing when I was heading to college, and then kind of got out of it and got into the backstage stuff, but in college. But I mean, this was my first, that was the first time that I had actually run a show top to bottom. And to this day, the people who owned the show, the people who were my bosses, had no idea that I had zero experience in doing
That's
this.
so funny.
They just needed someone.
They needed somebody, and and the first day I was like, well, I did it.
So in your
It's done.
mind, in that moment, if you can think back to 30 some odd years ago,
I believe when he
20 some
started
odd years ago. Thank
20
you.
some odd
50,
years
60
ago.
years ago, he
Yeah.
was doing a phonograph. He was just
The
broadcasting
year
Right.
was
to the gramophone.
1892.
Yeah. The sound guy was just a guy in the acoustics, just moving shit around.
Well, they just invented sound a week
Yeah.
before.
He was paving amphitheaters.
That's right.
That's what he was doing.
And you kind of answered this a little bit, but as much as you can recall, how do you get to that point where you say, I can do that? Was it, oh, I can do some of this and hope for the best? Like, what kind of...
No, I mean, I had it in my mind how I believed I could do it.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure that if I do all these things, then this will just work. And I'll be able to
Okay.
do this. And then, like, through the years, I learned technique, and then I did like Broadway stuff and that kind of thing. And like over the years, I really picked up a lot of things and had various mentors and people like that showed me kind of more detailed stuff. And it was like, oh, you're trying to do this, but if you do it this way, it'll work a lot better and it'll be easier on you. And little tips and tricks like that. I would say with imposter syndrome, though, don't do it yourself. You're doing that work. You're doing a lot of work yourself against yourself. If somebody else is going to come up to you and let's say you're doing accounting, and at the very while you're doing the accounting, at the very least, you should be confident in yourself. Say, I know how to do this. And it's not even confidence. Confidence is the wrong word. It's more
kind of just self-talk, I feel like. Just saying, I'm going to do this. It's
well,
like...
and it's assuredness.
Yes, yeah.
And it is, I know that it's like the writer said. Adam? I keep forgetting the name. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like Adam said. I do this accounting work. I don't make mistakes. It is all correct.
Yeah.
So you know that it's right. So if somebody else is going to come up to you and demand a degree or demand some qualification that you don't have, let them worry about that.
Okay.
Worry about what you're comfortable with. Think about here are the things that I'm comfortable with. Here are the types of jobs that I can do. Here's what I know that I know how to do. And start there. Don't start with, let me think about the jobs that I have the on-paper qualifications for.
Right.
Start with, what do I know that I know I can do?
So I want to zoom in on your career and use it as an
Go ahead.
example for Adam. So you get into this by accident, just like Adam. You build up a little bit of a tenure. You're starting to build up your skills, just like Adam. Then the day comes where you say, I want to hold myself out to some open positions as an audio engineer.
Yeah.
But I know some of the other people competing, they have the pedigree. They have the story that says, I went to school for this. I am a technical knowledge guy. Like, this is my background.
This still happens to me today,
Yeah,
by
that's
the
a
way.
whole degree at UNLV.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And
So
other
then
places.
you're realizing, okay, now I'm at this part of my career where I've picked up on this. I'm enjoying this. I feel like I have a leg to stand on. but now I need to convince the employers that I'm worthy when the guys I'm competing against, or women, they have the pedigree and I don't have that pedigree. Adam's in that position where he's saying, man, that feels weird. I feel like I don't belong in their weight class. Take us into that story and how you overcame that.
Man, I can't worry about everybody else. I can't worry about all the people that have degrees and various qualifications on paper and all these things. I can look at them and go like, can you do this? Great. You're probably good enough to do the job then. I think I'm also good enough to do the job. I don't know. It's whatever people want.
Right.
And I have to leave that up to them because I can't control that.
I agree with that because I know people that have looked at jobs and will say like, oh, I can't do this. I'm not qualified to do this.
They don't even apply.
Yeah.
Right.
And then number one, no one's qualified for the job they apply for.
Yeah.
And number two, it's not your job to say that you're not qualified.
Yeah.
Let them tell you you're not qualified.
The first interview, I may have told this story on the air before, but the first interview that I ever had for a Broadway show. So, honest, spoiler, I got the job. But
Peter Pan.
That kicked off my career kind of as it is right now. That was the
launching.
first of like that level of shows
Broadway
that I
shows.
From
run.
that point on, you had that on the resume.
That
trumps going to school.
Oh, from that point on, I never wrote another resume. That was the last time that I handed someone a resume was that interview.
Right.
And it was still the worst interview I believe I've ever had in my life.
Huh.
I left that interview thinking that I had not gotten it at all. And then I actually called a few days later to be like, hey, I got this other job offer. It was for another thing that I really didn't care about or didn't want to do, especially. But I was like, here's another job. It's fine. It was like running bands in a lounge setting type thing. So not terrible or anything, and still in the same general field, but not what I wanted to be doing either. And I called him up and was like, hey, I've got this other job offer. I'm going to take it. I interviewed with you guys the other day, and I just wanted to call and make sure that I'm not getting this job before I take the other one. And the response was, oh, we were going to call you today. We would like to offer you the job. And I was like, oh,
wow.
shit.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it turns out there were a couple of lines on my resume that the main guy liked.
Okay.
It was like, oh, he's done these couple of things and it was things that I would not have tied to the position that they were interviewing me for, which was to run the shows and
That's
everything.
where it's on them.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Because they looked at it and they looked at two lines on my resume that I did not believe really tied in to what they were looking for. But he looked at that and said, well, if he did this job on this type of show, then that means he was doing X, Y, and Z. Those skills right there will transfer into this. I want to give this guy a shot doing this.
Interesting.
Very cool.
And it had nothing to do. I mean, I interviewed, I did whatever I did.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think it had to do with that interview or any kind of attitude that I brought to it.
Right.
It was just, they made the decision based on things that I was not thinking about.
Right.
And that was it.
Well, we should also point out your resume is just a headshot. And
Yeah.
I think that helps,
Which line on his headshot?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was the line of Coke under his nose.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
that's the
makes
line
sense.
he keeps referring. They're like, I like this guy. I don't know what it
I
is.
thought that was a milk mustache.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's very
Just
powdery.
watery Coke.
No, but I love this point, and this is a great piece of advice, I think, generally, because sometimes when we're writing these resumes, we're thinking, oh, well, my education doesn't tell this narrative story. But I love your point there, Jacob, which is sometimes with these technical roles, explaining the areas of mastery that you have, like referencing internal jargon. These are the things I know how to do that are part of this macro industry. Here are tools that I consider myself adept at. Here's functions and processes that I have a lot of experience with and what the expectations are. And using ChatGPT too to help you shine that up a little bit.
Oh my
say,
God. If I were going to write a resume
Oh.
tonight, you better believe I'd be using some
Yes.
ChatGPT.
Give me different
Why
versions
not?
of this over and
Use
over again.
the tools that are available.
Yeah, and Adam, I think that's a huge step forward into and also using that to reverse engineer the imposter syndrome too.
Yeah.
To really ask yourself, well, but I do know these things. Like all the things I'm going to list on this resume, yes, I've put my hand on. Yes, I know how to functionally do. I'm competent. I know how to do these things. And then taking a beat to realize, wow, I do know how to do these things.
Does Adam tell us how old he is in the letter?
I don't think
he
got
said
that.
he graduated 10 years ago.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I'm guessing
so
around 30.
So early 30s.
Yeah.
Early
So
30s.
maybe you're at an age where you're starting to learn. I don't know what your whole background is. Something that I have discovered as an adult is that most adults are idiots. And look at all these people out there doing things that I don't know how to do, but most of the people doing those things are idiots.
Yes.
They're still
the people that
doing
make
those
the
things.
most money, I swear, are the biggest idiots that I've seen.
I've noticed that too. Like, I mean, just within like business.
Yes.
Like people who are CEOs,
Yes.
COOs, all the C-suite people that you kind of like, until you are in that, you look at them and think like, wow, they got their shit together.
They know what they're doing.
That's the real
And
ones.
then you
Very
realize
few do.
like, oh shit.
Y'all are dumb.
I could do this, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And I can relate to the imposter syndrome definitely
Of course.
with fitness.
Oh.
No, fuck, I'm not a
Fitness imposter and your syndrome.
So close.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I can definitely get that. Like when talking to other personal trainers and stuff, or when I'm at the gym, and like now, like when I first started at this gym that I rent space from, I was like the only trainer there. You know, and so no one, I'm not impostoring anybody that anybody's going to notice. Okay,
Yeah.
now we've got a team, and there's like 5 of us.
Okay.
And so now I'm always like worried, and
Right.
people are watching me. Yeah. And then at one point, you know, I was talking to one of the guys, and I was just kind of asking some questions and whatnot. And, you know, he kind of asked, I must have said something, but he kind of like, oh, how long have you been doing this? And I was like, oh, you know, like a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. He's like, oh shit, I thought you've been doing this for like 15 years. Like I'd been watching you and you seem to know what you're doing. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But the point I was going to get to,
you make it.
imposter syndrome isn't necessarily, or isn't 100% a bad thing.
Right.
Okay. Because it does motivate you to learn more about your craft.
Sure.
You don't
know,
get
like,
complacent.
Exactly. Like I have studied really hard to become better at fitness and become a better personal trainer, because I'm so worried about other people judging me.
Yes.
That I've thrown myself into this, and I'm like, and now when I have conversations with other people, I realize like, oh, they don't know a lot of this stuff that I know.
Right.
And I think also having a wealth of knowledge, like Adam talks about getting a degree in digital media. I'm a big fan of people who end up in a career but had a first career.
Yeah,
Huge
absolutely.
fan of discovering people like that.
I think the big thing that you learn in college, the most important thing is critical thinking.
Right.
Yes.
Forget about the topic. Forget about the subject.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
if you learn how to analyze a problem and look for a solution, that's what college is all about.
I love
Yes.
that. And like in my story, I was a high school teacher. My first career in my 20s, for 8 years, I was a school teacher. Like I thought that was going to be the profession. And like then ended up going into mental health. But like having a first act, I think really changed what I can offer as a therapist and gave me some special insights that maybe up here wouldn't have, because I've had some lived experiences that I think are relevant. Or even working for the bad guys, working for the insurance companies, and then switching hats and saying, you know what,
learned a lot.
I'm going to fight injustice for a living instead of being a part of the evil system.
Right.
You know, that was a good, I'm glad you came to the light. You know, everybody eventually finds their way.
I did that.
You know, but like this, I think, Adam,
Glad I have your approval.
yeah. Adam, I think that this
I
is a
did that.
glass half full kind of thing. I think you're a stronger candidate because you were not baked in this one mold all along, that you discovered it and you had to answer questions a lot of times on your own and discover functional ways to do it. Like when you teach somebody how to engineer a car, that's one way of thinking. They memorized what you taught them and then they put it into practice. When somebody else had to invent that shit themselves through trial and error like you did, they have a different kind of knowledge. So I think that that's a tremendous asset that you have. But no, I mean, altogether, you know, I would say a couple of things on this. Do Jacob's theory of like in your resume presentation and the way you're presenting yourself to others, focus on the skills you have mastered and name those things. Name the processes, the things you can do, and put that resume out there. You talk about how do I endure defeat if I'm going to be rejected and rejected. First off, I think you're being really pessimistic on yourself. I think that you're assuming that so many people have these skills that there's just like this embarrassment of riches of people applying on all these jobs. I don't think that's the case. I think that you're talking about some very refined things. You have practical and applied skills, Adam, and I think that when you get those out there, you're going to start finding industries that are really giving you second looks, and that's going to start refining your searches, and that's going to start showing you like, okay, I want to start focusing more in this area. And maybe because of the family ties, like, okay, I know how to work for more entrepreneurial people or family-owned businesses or people that are more like about the relationship. And man, I tell you what, we had somebody write in a while ago about a family business that they owned, and they wanted to leave the family business. Remember this? It was the son of the family.
Very torn.
He was doing all this work, and he wanted to leave, and the family would not hire an accountant or anybody to do all the math because they didn't trust not to get robbed. And you know, like Adam, you can't put a price on that. There's no amount of education that could make a family business feel safe. But because you have that human side where like you've integrated into like the relationship side of a business, you might have so much to offer that is intangible, that doesn't show up as just what you went to school for, but it's the stuff that shows up in the story that you tell and the relationships you've built where you were at. So you're selling yourself short, man. And I think that once you're getting out there and you're applying this stuff and you're trying this stuff, yes, you're going to get knocked back. Yes, you're going to get, some no's. It's going to suck. It is. Never drop an application and tell yourself, this is the one. It's going to happen. It's do or die. This is perfect.
Setting the expectations.
Yeah. Set them low. You're going to feel like you're going to go through them and you're going to get stingy in the beginning. Be like, I don't want to apply to all 10 of these. I love this 1 out of 10. I really want this 1 out of 10. I tell people like, hit submit on that and hit submit on 3 more.
Yes.
For every one you love, hit 3 that you're not in love with, but exist, if only to sharpen your interview skills.
Yes.
Even if you know I'm not taking it if they call me. Great. Get on the Zoom, start the interview process, get a feel for the industry questions that are going to be asked, use it as a warm-up, get some at-bats, and then decline the offer when it comes in and keep searching. Yeah. But, just get out there and try, Adam. That's how you're going to find out what the market wants.
Let other people tell you no.
Yeah.
If you don't need to tell yourself no.
Yeah.
Let them do it. Yeah. That's their job.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're not responsible for their answer. You're just responsible for what you put on your resume. And you and ChatGPT.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adam, good luck with this. We believe in you, and we can't wait to hear about the new job that you get. And then to see those big, fat Patreon support checks coming on through. Get that money, B. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about narratives in therapy. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpy Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cone. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right. Here we go.
All right.
I'm winning.
Hold on.
I'm dominating.
The name of the game. I win.
That is the name of this game.
Jacob.
Okay.
Jakob.
Which collectible plush toys became a national obsession in the 1990s?
I know this one too.
In the 90s?
With some people even storing them in protective cases.
Yeah.
This is some bullshit. He gets the Goonies and now this.
Yeah, I know. The Goonies was such a gimme.
But I thought it was going to be Space Camp, and I was really excited that it was going to be Space Camp.
Shoot from the hip. What's it going to be?
Oh, this is the Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Are we in 90s?
What were the options?
My mom
then?
had so many.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, that's okay.
Which would have been 80s.
Yep.
Beanie Babies, Care Bears, and Pound Puppies.
Pound Puppies.
Oh, Pound
Did I ever
Puppies.
tell you I was a Care Bear for Halloween one year?
I believe we have a photo
I need a
of it,
picture.
actually.
I think so.
2023?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been sent. Carrie sent it to us. I believe it's on our Instagram.
Probably.
I'll go find that.
Yeah, I was the pink one.
Yeah.
I was a pink Care
It
Bear.
was the pink Care Bear.
Yeah.
Did the
It
Care
shaped
Bear
you
stare?
to who you are.
If I followed your social media, I'd know about it.
Yeah. It does exist. Don't worry. No sense starting now.
This is a real test for Jacob.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see the picture.
What we should
I don't want to follow.
We should post all the answers to the trivia on the Instagram and then just see if he gets any of them.
I don't have a single shot.
We have
Jim.
a single shot. You're making them.
Which high school focused TV drama set in a wealthy California neighborhood?
Oh my God.
Prepared in 1990 and
When
made
your teacher
stars.
pops a test, you know
No,
you're in a
I
mess
thought
and
that
your
at
dog
first.
ate all your homework last night.
Yep, that's it, Jim. That's it.
Oh, Saved by the Bell. It's all
I
right
steal?
because
It
I'm
is
Saved
not.
by the
Can I
What
steal?
the fuck?
Can I steal?
It's not?
No.
Is it 90210?
It is.
It's obviously 90210.
Oh, damn it.
I thought Saved by the Bell at first. Then he said California.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's
They're one in
90210.
California and Saved by the Bell?
I think Saved by the Bell was also in California.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was?
it
Well,
was Bayside.
never mind.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Bayside High.
Well, 90210 is the zip code.
Okay.
Right, 'cause I'm Saved by the
Well,
Bell.
yeah, wealthy California neighborhood. That was
Wealthy.
the-
Wealthy. I think
Yeah.
that was what I was like.
Was Saved by the Bell in the options? Would it at least have deceived me?
No.
Shit.
What were the
Dawson-
options?
What were the
Dawson's
options?
Creek, Beverly Hills, 90210. Oh, Saved by the Bell. I
Oh,
guess
okay.
it
Yeah,
was.
then I would have fallen
And
for
Buffy the Vampire
it. Yeah,
Slayer.
I was going into the
Buffy.
Saved by the Bell trap, even though it's a 90s
I love these
show, but-
90s.
Sitcom was set in the fictional California town of Palisades.
Wait, what?
Wait.
That's really weird.
That is weird.
Maybe it became.
Is it fictional because it no longer exists? Like, is that, did they Wikipedia edit that?
No,
'Cause
Palisades.
that's messed up.
It was named after Saved by the Bell
Oh, yeah.
in honor. Of,
Yeah, in honor of.
Yeah. Hey,
All right,
What?
Whitney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which 1997 epic film by James Cameron, starring Leo and Kate, became one of the highest-grossing movies of all time?
I feel you.
Titanic.
Correct.
Yes, I love
Thank
the
you for
90s.
that.
Why is this
Oh,
in
they
the
called
80s?
it. They called it Palisades.
I think we're in 90s.
But
I think
it,
Are we moving forward?
yeah, so it was a fictionalized version of Palisades. That's what they made.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So we entered into a 90s trivia.
We did.
Okay, I didn't catch that. But
there was hope.
Got it.
We did. All right, moving on. I'm going to have to save some of these. Ooh.
Ooh, yes, so excited.
Well, you got to ask that one now. You can't punt to next show on that.
All right, come on, give it to me, Nick.
Give it to Jacob.
Which bright green, highly caffeinated soft drink was introduced by
Christ.
Coca-Cola in 1997
Surge!
and
Gotta be
briefly
Surge.
discontinued
Gotta be
before
Surge.
modern comeback.
Yep, that's Surge.
It was Surge.
It was
Wow.
fucking good, though. I love
My brother was
Surge.
obsessed with
Oh,
Surge.
it
was the best.
That
my
was a
gosh.
big deal at I think my junior high.
Oh, I feel
Yep.
like it is the closest thing we have to Slurm from Futurama.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
just clearly addictive and clearly horrible for you.
Yeah.
I love that
So
Nick
good.
said Mountain Dew earlier, and he's wearing all green like Mountain Dew.
I am, yeah. That's my thing today.
He's on theme.
Okay, we'll just knock out
Do it
these
right.
last two.
Yeah,
Which
let's do it.
egg-shaped digital pet form
Buzz.
from
Tamagotchi.
Japan? Correct.
Yes.
Nice.
My
Whitney,
era, bitches.
Which hugely baggy jean style
Buzz.
is often
Love
associated
those.
with skater and
Jinkos.
rave culture from the 1990s.
Hell yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
They get a whole foot-long sub in those bad
I had a
boys.
pair of Jinkos that you could fit a 2-liter Coke in
There
the
it
back
is.
pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see Jacob
You could take
picture
a
in
2-liter
Jinkos.
Coke and just slide it right down in the back pocket.
Bucket pocket.
I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with the
What
Instagram
flavor
accounts
Coke?
that are nostalgia.
Ah,
Coke.
classic.
Coke.
Cokey Coke.
All right. Yeah, yes.
We're all doing well.
Yeah.
Except for me with that whole Saved by the Bell thing. It's all right. Narratives in Therapy from Dale the King. Hello, Nick, Jacob, Whitney, and fellow Colonel Jim.
Pronounced
Well, I didn't
Colonel.
realize Dale was in the club.
Dale, it's Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Jim.
Dr. Jacob. It's fine. I'm done with that title anyway. I'm a colonel now. I don't give a shit. I've been seeing my therapist, who I'll call Greg. You don't have to keep them anonymous, Dale, but whatever. Greg, for about 3.5 years.
You don't have any HIPAA
You don't have
concerns
any
to worry
requirements.
about.
Yeah, you call them right back.
You give us our
They
fucking,
might
his fucking
listen.
address.
They might listen.
Oh, that's true. You've been hiding it. Okay. Who I'll call Greg for about 3.5 years, and we've developed a fantastic working relationship. I saw 2 therapists before Greg with moderate success, but nothing like the results I've seen since. When looking for a new therapist, Greg's website really spoke to me and made clear that his personal philosophy mirrors the research that the most critical element for success in the therapy is the relationship between practitioner and patient. I felt so strongly about this that I put myself on his wait list for a couple months, waiting for a spot to open up. All this to say, I feel extremely grateful to be working with Greg. About 6 weeks ago, I got an email from Greg stating that he had very suddenly been diagnosed with an illness that required emergency surgery, an extended recovery, and, even if successful, might force Greg into immediate retirement. He warned me not to expect an update for a while, and I knew that since he runs a solo practice with no administrative support, if things went badly, I would never hear from him again. It's fair to say that this has shaken me quite a bit. I've been going through a challenging spell in my life, and therapy has been key to helping me deal. I haven't been feeling my best and have often been overwhelmingly emotional about the potential loss of this relationship that has helped me through so much. Many aspects of this situation have been hard. For one thing, Greg's illness is the same one that claimed one of my grandfathers, and that loss is something that Greg has helped me come to terms with. Add in the uncertainty around if I would ever hear from Greg again, and the daunting prospect of having to start fresh with a new therapist, it's easy to admit that I've been upset. Fortunately, about a week ago, Greg got in touch. He let me know that the procedure went very well, and after a few complications, he's expected to recover about as well as could be hoped. He even plans on resuming his practice again in a few months, once he's more fully recovered, and he wants to continue working with me if I'm interested, which of course I am. In his initial message informing me of the emergency, Greg stated that he decided to share some of the specific details of his situation, despite not wanting to flip the therapeutic narrative and cause me or his other patients to worry about his well-being. I'm afraid I've been doing exactly that. Not only was I worried about him during the weeks when he was out of touch, but I continue to worry about him now. I'm thinking things like, how can I bring up relatively minor challenges like those I experienced at work when I know he was just fighting for his life? Or is he spending an hour working with me because he can't retire, even though he should for his own sake? I know very well the kinds of things he would say if I brought these worries up to him, that people can only play the hand that they're dealt, and that true comparisons aren't fair or even really possible. But those truths aren't making much headway. It's also challenging because on some level, I feel like once we resume therapy, I won't be able to be honest about how hard this has been without making him feel guilty for an illness that wasn't his fault, or flipping the therapeutic relationship. I understand that this relationship is not a friendship or anything. He provides health care to me, but I can't deny the fact that I care deeply about this relationship and him. Any advice or feedback you can share on the situation or my thoughts and feelings would be greatly appreciated. Sorry for the novel. I'll do you a favor and save a few words by not even trying to trigger one of Colonel Jim's pronunciation landmines. Sincerely, like Dale the King.
So this is a really good question. I don't think we've had a question like this before.
Yeah, so unique.
There's a first.
It is.
How much do you disclose on things like that when you have to disrupt therapy?
Yeah.
Or maybe you haven't had to, but like whether it's your own medical reasons or like I find like loss in family or like stressful family situations. Like my mom was just recently in the hospital, so I traveled, but I kept some of my appointments. And when I was in a different location, then clients comment, they're like, oh, your background or, you know, things like that. So, that's hard.
It is hard.
Which I'll tell you what I shared in a minute, but what's your experience?
So philosophically, there's a debate about this.
Yes.
There's a strict side that says, look, we shouldn't disclose things. And kind of for the reasons that Dale talks about.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, hey, even though we might value honesty and even though these are humans that care about us and we want to, you know, contribute to the truth of the relationship and reveal what's going on with us, we inherently start tipping their boat when we do that, and that's going to make it hard to resume care. That's going to interfere with care. So there's a strict side that says don't disclose at all.
Yeah.
There's another side that kind of goes the opposite direction that says no, so much of this relationship relies on authenticity and being genuine that it's okay to let them see you bleed, as long as you can still provide care. If you can't, then you need to like pull away and say, I'm sorry, we need to discontinue service for a period of time, or I need to refer you away, and here's the reason why. So there's two different camps on this. I have had opportunities to experience both, and it's case by case. Like,
yes,
I mean, we went through a
true.
miscarriage at one point, and that happened in the middle of my therapeutic day, and I wasn't going to cancel the patients because so much was happening right then that I just didn't feel that was moral or ethical or right. But I was also hurting. And then, you know, later people were like, well, you had a responsibility to end those sessions because you weren't capable of doing it.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at that and said, you're right, except I was capable of doing it. But you could, I mean, if you ask them if I was okay, they might seem, you're a little off. Like, is everything okay? I could have just gotten a parking ticket. Like, you know, I could have like allergies. Like anything could be a factor in there. And I think like an 80% strong therapist is better than no therapist.
Canceling
and I didn't have a predictable thing.
With clients too.
Yeah. Canceling last second when they're on the drive there is unpredictable too.
I think there's another really important factor here, though, is with Greg being in private practice and not having any administrative support.
Right.
Because that makes a difference. Like if something did happen and he just disappears,
Right.
Is that any better for the
Right.
patient? I think that was probably just as damaging.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
So,
no, that's a really good point. Because we're both in private practice.
Yeah.
And I've run this scenario through my mind, trying to anticipate big things that are going on in the world or something like that, or whenever family's dealing with something, or you're thinking like, okay, this is what my week looks like, but I'm in the hospital with this person right now. Like, what are we going to do? And it is tricky because you're right, Nick. Like sometimes it's kind of like, because I brought up the miscarriage, there was this, after our miscarriage, we had another pregnancy, that's our daughter. And we were scared to tell anybody in our family and friends, as many people are after a miscarriage. But at some point we realized if we have a second miscarriage, we are going to be devastated. So hiding it from other people is only denying them an understanding of what the hell's wrong with us, right?
fair.
They're going to see something's wrong with us. I can't hide that. So they may as well know what's going on. And I can see that similar logic with Greg and the relationship with Dale as well, that it's like, look, either there's going to be an interruption of care, or I'm going to be out and I'm going to come back, and I may be on the mend. I may not be the same guy, and I don't want to leave it all a mystery, right? Because then that could be worse for the person too. And it's like better to just inform them. That way you're treating them like an adult.
Yeah.
And and then Dale's right. There is going to be some disruption, but I could also see the argument that so be it. There is no path where we're not disrupted. I am going through a health emergency.
Yeah.
I may die,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sorry, but you're going to have to decide for yourself, Dale. Is this relationship still, is a wounded me still better than a perfectly healthy other therapist who doesn't have what we share? Or is my wound and my challenges so distracting to you that you feel that it's damaged your ability to do good therapy with me, and do you need to try somebody else?
And is that something that you would just ask the client?
I'd give him permission to do that. I'd give him permission to do it.
Okay.
I would definitely say,
I guess, is it something that you would bring up to them, or would you wait for them to bring it up to you?
I'm happy to talk about it with them if they do bring it up. I wouldn't proactively bring it up because I wouldn't want to plant the thought.
Gotcha.
Because if they're thinking, no, this is so great, I'm so excited to reconnect with you.
Right.
And sure, Jim, I do have a million questions about your health. How much am I allowed to ask? What's going on? Like that, I think that's natural.
But if they feel like they're doing fine.
If they say, this is working for me.
They might say to themselves, like, Jim seems a little off.
Right.
But that's okay.
I can tell that he's still recovering. He winces in pain a little bit or whatever. Dale says, look, I had 2 other therapists before this. You're special and I want to work with you. Okay.
Fair enough.
2 thoughts I had on just Dale's question. One is I actually encourage maybe talking to the therapist about it, especially if y'all have worked together for 3.5 years. I'm thinking about my more long-term clients. And if they just came into session and said, hey, all the things you said, I'm because we have this relationship, I'm feeling for you more. I don't know how impactful that is to this dynamic. That gives your therapist, Greg, a chance to kind of step in. Even if you're saying, I know what he's going to say, it gives him a chance to step in and do his job.
Right.
Or not, if he's really, messed up about something or other, that'll give you more clarity one way or another. If you feel better after that situation, great. If you don't, then pay attention to that and you can make a more educated decision on if you want to continue working with them or not, if you feel like it's beneficial or not. And the second thing is you are not responsible for Greg's feelings.
Yeah.
And I just really have to enforce that. He is your therapist and you can care for him, but I feel a lot of you taking on that care for his feelings, treating him with kid gloves almost is how I hear this letter. And that's where I think the communication comes into play.
I love your suggestion of revealing what you are in that moment authentically feeling, which is very Carl Rogers.
Yeah.
And he would argue, don't be scared this is going to hurt the relationship. Tell Greg. Cry.
Yeah.
Tell Greg, I was so scared I was going to lose you.
Yeah.
And right now I'm feeling a mix of emotions and you've taught me to talk through this and I'm going to honor your teachings by revealing the mix of complex and contradictory feelings I have right now. I'm scared that I'm going to hurt you.
Are you okay? Do you feel like you have to be here?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about
up.
how I had a bad lunch and that ruined my week and you're getting chemo.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I feel pretty weird about that, Greg. And like, let Greg hear that.
Because it's putting you off your lunch.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's what I mean by not being
bald people make you lose your appetite.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, I guess you're clarifying that on not being responsible for his emotions. If you make him uncomfortable, you're not responsible for that. Like, Greg can handle that. He sounds like a really great therapist.
Right. And it honors the relationship to reveal that. And as a therapist, that's what I want. Like, I would want Dale to reveal to me, Jim, I care about you. This shook me up. I was scared for you. I'm scared for you now. And also, I feel like my little trite day-to-day, meanderings dishonor your truth. Okay, great. Reveal that to me, right? And then let's talk about it. And I may have some points that I would like to offer. I've probably thought through this a little bit.
Right.
You're not the only person that I'm returning back to. I told you all the truth. But this also opens up that gate again of like, as a therapist, sometimes feeling, I think, the pinch of how much you want to reveal. Like, I've struggled with that on Pod Therapy because it's a window into my life, and I do at this point have folks that I treat that do listen to the show.
Yeah.
Against my advice, damn it. I've told all of you to stop, but they still do it. But like, I've had times where I'll jump into a session with them and I don't always keep track of who listens and who doesn't. I'll forget. And then they'll be like, hey, man, how's that thing going? And this is, we've done the show for 8 years.
Rash cleared up?
Yeah, you get that rash cleared up. Or like...
And no, he didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Jacob knows.
I insist. I'm a purist. Let the body be the body. But like, and they'll ask about something that came up and they'll be like, oh, yeah. And I'll be like, this thing. Yeah. And there's been times where I've had to learn to censor myself on the show, like years and years.
Bullshit.
Well, from personal sadness stuff, like personal vulnerabilities that wouldn't be good for the patients, right?
They'd take that on.
And I remember years and years ago, I had a patient that died of suicide, and I had revealed it on the show. I'd done a special Patreon where I just ugly cried into the mic.
Dogged it.
Yeah, I raw dogged the emotions. And I just revealed this is what it's like for a therapist to lose a patient. I believe that had huge value to the mission of the show. And I didn't think twice about it. And then, of course, in the aftermath, I had patients jumping into session and saying, wow, I was so touched hearing this story about that. And for some people, it was very profound for their own therapy because they were like, hearing you react to another one of your patients dying really sobered me up to when I flirt with suicide and made me realize, like, I can't make Jim cry again. That was weird.
Yeah, a lot of clients, I think a lot of clients are surprised how much we think about them or feel for them outside of session. It may be brief and just sporadic, but like things happen that I think about my clients outside of session all the time.
This was a point that I was going to bring up because Dale's worried about like
Greg.
Well, no,
Dale's the writer.
Dale's the writer.
Yeah. Sorry.
And worried about like this inappropriate. What was the term? The
touching.
No.
Sexual.
Basically, the relationship.
Greg. It's an inappropriate Greg.
Like crossing boundaries.
Yeah. But we have to understand that this exists on a continuum, and it's not like this feeling is wrong. There is a healthy way of doing this, and then there's an unhealthy, or you could look at it as productive and unproductive. But you're a human being. Both Greg and Dale are human beings, right? Yes.
Or lizard people.
We don't know.
Or Russian bots.
Yeah.
But either way, we're all entitled to our feelings.
That's right. And pension checks.
And whoever wants to send us emails, we'll take them.
Yes. Yeah. We will read anything that gets sent to us.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
But the thing is like, this is just part of being a human being. You're going to... someone who you care about, who you spend a lot of time talking to, is sick.
Right.
That is a human reaction to feel like, oh my God, I feel bad. I want to help this person.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't have to feel like you need to, suppress that. Now it becomes, at what point does it become unhealthy?
Right.
It becomes unhealthy when it starts changing the dynamic.
Right.
And to a degree in which you can't pursue your own goals.
Right.
And then now the therapy starts focusing on Greg, the therapist, as opposed to Dale, the patient.
Yeah.
Then it becomes problematic. But otherwise, it's fine to just be a human.
Yeah. And to be affected. Yeah. And I really I think what your suggestion there, we could carry that to the action step of when you resume care with Greg. I think what I would want Dale to do is say, so Greg, I thought I'd like to share with you how I've been affected by all this, right? Which I'm sure Greg is ready for, and Greg is going to invite. It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But a question you could always put to Greg is, can you help me understand under what circumstances would you and I decide that I should take care to a new provider? Under what circumstances is it safe to stay? Like, what do you think is best for me? What would be your referral recommendations? That I would like as a therapist. You're never going to
offend your therapist. Let me just say that. You're never going to offend your therapist if you
want that question.
Yeah.
Because I would look at that and go, okay, Dale, excellent. Because I do have an ethical responsibility to give you things you should look out for. Yeah. So then I would be able to say, so Dale, if you're feeling feelings in the beginning, I expect that. You and I have a long history. We can work through that. And in fact, that's not necessarily something we should be afraid of. Like Carl Rogers said, stop being such pussies about emotion.
Yeah.
Like,
verbatim.
Own it. That's what he said. You know, and he said, own the emotions. Let's talk about it. If we go through a session and you're talking about your love life and then all of a sudden you feel an incredible amount of like energy toward our relationship and fear for me because you see me, you know, like sneeze or something, it's okay to tell me. But like, I also have a responsibility to tell you, okay, Dale, if I catch you doing these things or if you catch yourself doing these things for this long, I want you to bring that to me. And this is how we're going to troubleshoot that. And if we're unsuccessful doing that, here's how we're going to make a plan for you to start care with somebody else. And that doesn't have to be a forever thing, Dale, but it might be for a season until the day comes when this is no longer a distraction. And that's okay. So, Dale, the good news is this is something people can handle. But here's the thing that I think we see a lot of. And I think Greg revealed to his patients at the right amount at the right time. Like, for what Greg was facing, like you had said, Nick, he's a private practice. I think he had a responsibility to kind of just tell them, like, don't keep this a secret.
Yeah.
But you'll see a lot of therapists, and we get a lot of feedback with people that piss and moan about bad therapists that only talk about their own lives. And that sucks too, because they're over self-disclosing. And like, I've seen situations where like a therapist is going through a divorce and they're like, I don't want to hold that in because it is big and you're going to notice I'm not wearing a ring. And like, it's just it's such a backdrop. Like when you hired me,
I'm gonna bring some dates by the sessions.
I'm gonna ask you out. You know, it's gonna get weird. And like I don't usually like that because I feel like that doesn't rise to the level. Like if they notice you're not wearing it anymore and they say,
or you
hey,
said, oh my wife this or my wife that at different points or something
now
like that.
And you say something like, oh yeah, my ex-wife was just telling me she's gonna take the kids.
Exactly.
And they pick up the context and they go, oh, did you get a divorce?
Exactly.
Like, and then I want you to minimize that and go, I did, yeah, you know, I've been divorced this long, or yep, we just wrapped that up. And like I do think you have a responsibility to wear the mask and like not start spilling tea.
You don't reveal that unless it feels.
I knew something was off with my therapist. He always referred to her as his wife, and then one day just started calling her bitchy McCuntface.
Wow,
something's up.
Is that a family name?
That's just a fun nickname.
Yeah. No, it's just we have these cute. We're just that's so us.
Is that bad? Fuck you.
I mean, it's predictable. I don't know about bad, but it's certainly expected.
So yeah, the good news is I think that this is something, in my opinion, you will surmount. I mean, and look, there's also this thing of like taking the best of like I'll take a mid-range great therapist over the best a bad therapist can offer, honestly. And like, I love that Greg is so relationship driven, and you're absolutely right, Dale. The data tells us that. And just the other day, I was talking to my students about the common factors, and we were talking about the best therapists and how heads and shoulders they are above the average therapist. Like, it's not even close.
I know.
And I will take that therapist running on 3 wheels over anybody else. Like,
so
honestly,
true.
Greg wounded is probably still better than anybody else. And he has that institutional memory of your life.
Yeah.
He can say things to you that nobody else can say.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you guys have a special relationship, Dale. I hope that you'll lean in on it, but give Greg the opportunity to give you an idea of like, this is what red flags would look like. This is what it would look like if this was unhealthy for you. And here would be our game plan.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Greg's already thought that out.
Oh,
for sure.
my gosh.
You know, like I wouldn't start therapy and initiate that with the patient because
he's
again,
not flying by the seat of his pants with this. No.
He's thought this through.
Yeah.
But like any therapist is going to have that in the back of their mind and then be looking for the signal from you that you would like to talk about.
Yeah, if you don't bring it up like Jim said earlier,
I'm not going
then
to.
The therapist isn't going to. Like,
I don't want to distract you. Maybe you're fine. Maybe you just have a little bit of cold feet, but we just need to get back to our vibe.
Yeah,
And
I
you
wouldn't
just
be
need to
like,
see that
are you
I'm okay.
upset that I'm sick? You know, like, I wouldn't. That would be
Right.
maybe like that.
It's a great
therapist.
question, though, Dale. I mean, this is such a big one. We've never had a question
That's
like
a
this.
good question.
But it's a good one. It gives us a chance to talk to colleagues and to students about self-disclosure rules and, you know, kind of reference like the better themes of how good therapy works, but how real this is for Dale and that you're not selfish for being the patient in a therapeutic relationship.
No.
And you shouldn't allow it to flip over And I think you're allowed to be curious, Dale. Like a lot of times people are like, am I allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Like, and I think you're allowed to just big picture ask, like, hey, Greg, it's so great to see you again. I'm sure you're not feeling 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you're okay.
Yeah.
And just like, and I would just encourage you, Dale, not to try to be too nosy.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we're showing love by being super curious. Like, oh, are you still seeing doctors? Or is everything behind you now? And it's like you want like a child to be reassured that daddy's okay. And it's like, don't put that much pressure on him because that puts us in a weird position of like, I don't want to tell you all the truth.
I always feel weird. Do you ever feel weird when you go into session? I'm like, oh, how's your day? How's your week? Like we're kind of warming up, you know? And they're like, good. How are you doing today? I don't know
Never
why.
know what to
It like
say.
weirds me out.
Goddamn business.
I'm like, I'm going to say good no matter what. Like that's how I feel. I'm just like, good. Or I'll be like, can't complain.
It's like when they want to know the stripper's real name. That's sometimes
it's like,
the vibe.
didn't I already tell you that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't? I guess it was because it wasn't any of your fucking business.
That's right.
Oh,
but that's a real thing where sometimes the patient's like, no, really though. How are you?
I know. I get very uncomfortable.
And you're like, no, I'm great. I'm having a great week. Or you just,
very
or you
aroused.
offer like a quick little like
I'm so
small
horny.
concession.
Yeah.
So
ravenously
horny. Yeah.
horny right
I'm
now.
having a really hard time
I-
focusing and listening to my clients today. Go on.
I really just start talking about bowel movements and
Yeah.
indigestion,
Well,
and
you know
they
what? I'm
kind of-
glad you
then
asked.
They move on.
I've been
Yeah.
very regular. It's been good. I feel like the fiber in the diet is finally getting right.
I have been shitting so much. My asshole is just gaping. I farted earlier and I couldn't even feel it.
I'm dropping pancakes.
It's just like
Pancakes. Oh no!
You
I just
did
farted
this,
again.
Dale. You wrote into this show with this
You
question.
tried to avoid Jimsisms,
You did
and this
this.
is where we ended up.
Anyway, from one colonel to another, good luck,
So
Colonel.
horny.
Colonel Dale, as we like to call each other because we're friendly.
The farmer in the dale.
Oh, there it is. Nice. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are wrapping up the show. I was impressed.
All right.
You're
Thanks,
listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, and Sam Cohn. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
So we're getting ready to get into Mad Marchness. We're going to be doing that pick'em brackets. We're going to be...
what did you just say?
It's Mad Marchness, baby. We're doing this.
Mad
Very
March?
mad.
I'm not getting sued. I'm not getting sued.
Okay.
There's
Oh my
ways
God.
around it.
The NCAA is not litigious.
Yeah, no.
No.
They would never.
They're very easygoing people over there. But if you want to get in
Is
on
March
this,
Madness like the Super Bowl? Is that one of
I
those
don't
things
think
that
so.
like you
I
just
think he's
it's
confusing the
absolutely
Super
like
Bowl.
that.
I don't-
look
I'm
at the
asking.
billboards. Drive through town. It's all
I
March
will not.
Mania. They're
okay.
looking for every possible
Gotcha.
way around this. So. Because we are making money on this.
For people who don't know, they call the Super Bowl the big game everywhere
Big
in
game
town.
weekend. Yep. So you can join our shenanigans, patreon.com/therapy. But you better get in there because once we
Do it.
activate the league, we publish the link through Patreon. So make sure your email alerts are turned on. That way you get that link. We don't spam you. All your emails are always just postings of new shows. But yep, we will kick that over to you. So make sure you get locked in with us soon. Selection Sunday is the 16th. And I believe after that day is when we're going to publish our bracket. You can pick all your favorite teams or do it randomly. We don't care. Bet the chalk if you want. And you can see who beats the hosts. That's the goal. You will guaranteed beat one of us because one of us always drops in the rankings very quickly.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You don't have to swim faster than the shark.
That's
You
right.
swim faster than the ones
That
you're
has
with.
always been our golden rule.
Just have to
We
swim
don't
faster
care.
than Whitney.
Yeah, no, that's
I
right.
was like, y'all just
Yeah.
start saying it.
I don't
but
care
hear
if
you.
100
I
of
hear
you do better than me, as long as I do better than one of the assholes in this room.
Yeah.
That is the only
Sushi
test.
time.
That's
We'll
all I
see.
want. I want
We'll
a full
see.
belly of sushi. But as we wrap up the show, we want to remind you, go to patreon.com/therapy. You can get our extended show ad-free a day earlier on the same device you're using right now. And you can enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. Next week, we have got a great deep dive coming out. It's Inside Out Chapter 3 with our intern, Emma. And Emma actually presented at a conference in Louisiana and strongly referenced Pod Therapy.
Oh.
In the
Oh,
research. Yeah, I know. I
Shit.
told
How
her,
dare
don't
she.
do this.
I love it.
So then she's trying to talk me into going with her to a conference in Philadelphia.
Do
and
it.
she's like, I can
This could be
strongly
your new
weave
place.
in. Yeah, fuck
Philadelphia.
Philly. I'm
Is
not
that-
going to
is that
Philly.
next to La Jolla?
Yeah, no, I'm not going there.
Can you go snorkeling in
Why do you
Philly?
hate Philly?
I don't want to leave. I just don't want to go anywhere.
Okay.
That's it. I
You're
just
an
if
idiot.
I
Jim,
can't
have you
get
done
out-
any
This was
more-
funny. This was fucking hilarious on Discord because I came across this conversation, and she's like, "Oh, you should come to Philly and present." Like,
Yeah.
okay, totally. So Jim's counter offer because she mentioned something about Tonka, the pony.
Yeah, Tonka
Jim's
truck.
counter offers, "Why don't you bring your horse to Vegas?" So it's easier
My
for
daughter
her
wants to ride the
to
horse.
bring a horse to Vegas than it is for Jim to go to Philadelphia.
Wow.
You could take your daughter.
Yeah.
You could have a father-daughter
I don't want
trip
to go to
Philadelphia.
Philly. She's not bringing the horse to Philly. That was never in the cards.
Has all that history there.
She just wants to do a presentation in Philly. I said you should come to a conference in Las Vegas, and her question was, "Oh, is there a mental health conference in Vegas?" I said,
That's a reasonable question.
"Yeah," and I said, "No,
You
but there's
just
a lot of other
offered to let her
conferences."
No, but
present
I'm
at a
here,
conference
he
here,
said.
and she
Yeah.
asked, "Is there a conference?"
Yeah, and I
the
said-
answer was no.
No, there's other conferences.
Question
It's
answered.
Vegas. We have all sorts. There's like a paper plate conference coming through town. Like we got all sorts of cool shit. There's like a Harley Davidson. Just show up. It'll be fine. Anyway, I don't remember what that was about. Oh yeah, Emma's got a new post. Come check it out. Patreon.com/therapy. Get stuff every Monday as well. But we've got some new friends that have joined the Thera Party. Who's
Friends.
new to the family, Nick?
We got a new Therapal, LJ. Welcome.
Welcome.
LJ.
And welcome into the boardroom. A new Thera producer.
Hell yeah!
Gabriel Adam.
I think it's
supposed to be
Adame.
Adams?
Adame.
Adame. That's how I want to say it.
We spelled it right? Okay.
ADAME.
Gabriel Adame is how
Ooh,
I
I
would
like
be.
that.
I like
Ooh,
that. Let's
very
go
Italiano.
hard on the accents on this.
Do it.
Go hard.
That's never gone.
Yeah.
wrong
That's
for
will
us.
only work out well.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much, they give till it hurts. The Thera partners, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Smitty Scoop, Judy Schneider, Kayla, Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley slapping your face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Hey Yo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kai, motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, Alina, Cody DeLorean Guy, Sam Cohn, Brady Malachek, and now introducing Gabriel Adame.
And if you'd like to do this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't
you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's episode. We want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. And remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share the show with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook. We're also on Blue Sky, and don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
And if you want to submit a question to the show, you can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net. Email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com or click the link in the episode description to be taken to our anonymous Google form page. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Colonel Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
The Colonel.
the Colonel.
Colonel. It is a weird
Why is
spelled
it spelled
word.
like that?
I
Is that
don't
French?
know.
What is that?
It's probably French.
I think we can just shorten it to just colon.
Yeah.
Colon Jim.
I'll answer to that.
Colon Jim. That's your hobo name.
Yeah.
When are we going to HoboCon, please?
Second weekend in August.
As soon as they
Colonel
buy
is
us an
spelled that way
RV.
because it comes from the Italian word colano.
Culinary.
Colonado is what happens when
Colonello.
you eat a Chipotle
I think it's
burrito.
colonello,
Colonello.
meaning
Colonello.
commander of a column.
Oh. Well, that kind of
column?
makes sense.
Jim's the
Like
commander.
a Roman column. Yeah, it feels right. I consider myself a column commander.
Yeah,
Bye.
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 I think Jim could handle a column.
Depends on the girth.